I showed you the nuances between the difference between mass and weight. Force equals mass times acceleration, and how acceleration has to do with velocity and the change in velocity, the change in speed. Now, if we talk about the 45 bullet, 15-gram bullet is going about what? 830 feet per second. And bow! It hits something, right? But it's only going 830 feet per second. So how far can it go? So understand that the high velocity, further range, lighter bullet versus heavy bullet, less accuracy over, the same amount of distance as well. Anyway, let's get back to the drawing board. If one angle of a triangle has measure greater than that of the second angle, then the side opposite the larger angle has measure greater than that of the side of the opposite the second angle. A segment from a point to a line is perpendicular to the line if and only if it is the shortest segment from the point to the line. The length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is greater than the length of either leg. The hinge theorem. Remember, this is important. We're talking about masonry. Hinge theorem. If two triangles have two sides of one congruent to two sides of the other, and the measure of the included angle of the first is greater than the measure of the included angle of the second, then the length of the third side of the first is greater than the length of the third side of the second. And it goes on to say, if two triangles, in the next version, that's 15, this is 16, if two triangles have two sides of one congruent to two sides of the other, and the measure of the third side of the first is greater than the measure of the third side of the other, then the measure of the angle included by the congruent sides of the first is greater than the measure of the angle included by the congruent sides of the other triangle. A diagonal and the sides of a parallelogram form two congruent triangles. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. Opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. The diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. The diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular to each other. Remember, I talked about different type of triangles: isosceles, acute, equilateral, rhombus. The diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular to each other. Now, when we're talking about the terms in the glossary, let me tell you the difference how they describe it compared to how I would describe it. A rhombus is a parallelogram having four congruent sides. So, what kind of triangle is a rhombus? A rhombus triangle. Well, it's obviously a triangle that's been formed out of a parallelogram that's been sliced. Well, duh. What is a parallelogram? It's a has four fucking sides, right? Now, and they're parallel. Let me give you their fucking definition, because, mine, don't fucking take it back to the start now. A quadrilateral having two pairs of parallel sides. Okay, that's a parallelogram. Quadrilateral. Quad, four. Okay, quadrilateral. Not a trilateral, a quadrilateral. So a rhombus triangle is a triangle. Okay, when I say something that's a little bit different than the way they say it, just take my fucking word for it. But don't assume that that's how you can describe it to someone else. Just know that that's how I describe it to you, because I'm a fucking prophet, and I can do that. And even by some magical twist of fucking Satan's fucking fate, Satan, I will turn back and correct my mistake. Like that. So don't worry about it. Now, let's go back to... Motherfucker. We talked about the side angle side postulate, angle side angle postulate. We talked about, we was past that. We was past the triangle inequality theorem. The sum of the measure of the two sides of a triangle is greater than the measure of the third side. So obviously, if you have a triangle, the two sides have to be bigger than the last one for obvious reasons. Okay? The sum. You add them together. So say you had a right angle triangle. Okay? Well, in a right angle triangle, you have 90 degrees, and then the other two equal 90 degrees. So the triangle inequality theorem, as stated, how much I hate to say it. See, yeah, when I try to quote the fucking book, what do they do? You woods lead us astray. I can't even quote the book because I'm smarter than these woods who made the fucking book. Fuck! Alright. What they're trying to say is the sum of the... No, you probably think I'm fucking making this up. Look. Theorem 612. The sum of the measure of the two sides of a triangle is greater than the measure of the third side. Okay? So they're saying that the lines that connect the fucking dots, that they have to be greater. Okay, let's take that fucking point. A, B, C, right? They're saying that AB and fucking BC have to be greater than A fucking B. So we take the right angle fucking triangle, right? So you had 90 degrees, and they have two sums of the angle that equal 90 fucking degrees, right? Their claim is that the way a triangle is laid out, that it is impossible to connect the three fucking lines without having two of them automatically, by default, become greater than the measure of the third. So it was a theory that was proven true. Hold that fucking thought. Okay?